Hello, hello, and welcome to the Amplify Your Authority podcast. I'm your host, Marissa Shadrick, and today we're going to talk about how you can integrate AI to produce better copy. Now, many solopreneurs, they have great expertise and great products, but when it comes to marketing, they sometimes struggle in writing the copy that resonates with their audience, especially when the benefits are intangibles, like, for example, peace or confidence, hope or fulfillment. It's really hard for them, and sometimes ChatGPT will be limited in what it outputs because of these intangibles. So I'm going to walk you through the process so that you can get better output when you're using ChatGPT. AI tools are very helpful to generate content, but they lack that emotional depth and human understanding that's required to connect in a meaningful way. So let's start with the basics. In a previous episode, I talked a little bit about how to craft a prompt. Let me summarize here, because as AI changes, we discover new ways to be able to prompt engineer. So to summarize, you would first start with who the target audience is. So you need to understand who you're writing to and give that information to ChatGPT. And then you would also want to explain about your brand or give a brand overview of what it is that you do, your business. The third thing you want to do is provide the product that you're selling. As much information as you can as far as what it is, whether it's a coaching program or whether it's a course, whatever you have available already. Obviously, if you haven't written the sales page, you don't have a lot of details yet, but the idea of what the product is. The fourth is context. This is where you give ChatGPT your unique perspective. What's going to make this sound like you? You're going to give it the resources and the do's and don'ts when it starts writing for you. The fifth is that you're going to assign it a role. You're going to ask it to assume that it is a copywriter or assume that it is a marketer and that it will be writing whatever it is that you want to write, whether it's email campaign to sell to a product or whether it's a sales page, whatever that promotion is. The sixth step into providing a really helpful prompt for ChatGPT is to give it a sample of your writing or give it a summary of your writing style. And lastly, the seventh piece is to ask for what you want. Give it the request that you need. So all of these things are layers that you provide so that it could get an understanding of what you're trying to produce. Now, it will produce some content, but it's not enough to really engage an audience because, again, we want to connect with our audience emotionally. We don't want to just talk about the features and the modules. We want to demonstrate that we understand their journey. We understand their struggle. We understand their pain. But there's a lot of layers to this. And this is what's missing when we're trying to have ChatGPT produce great promotional copy. But here's something to keep in mind. Your audience and our culture suffers from a lot of stress. Stress is no longer an occasional challenge. It's a cultural epidemic. The World Health Organization has classified stress as the health epidemic of the 21st century. Every day, people navigate a relentless wave of pressure, whether it's unexpected events, life transitions, health concerns, or economic uncertainty. It's no surprise they're disengaged with content that feels hollow or out of touch, no matter how well you used AI, because it lacks that human touch. We have to have that information and input that so we can get better output. So what makes writing truly connect with people? It's not the data, it's empathy. Empathy is not a hard skill, it's a soft skill, and we can develop that muscle. Empathy is the bridge that transforms marketing from transactional to transformational. So AI tools, as helpful as they are, can automate tasks, but empathy is inherently human. Empathy allows writers to understand emotional nuances, address fears, desires, and struggles authentically, foster trust and relatability through storytelling. You improve your marketing by seeing the invisible the emotions behind the actions. And there's a way that you can do this and figure this out for your own audience. And then once you understand that, you can look at what the transformation would be from engaging with your product or your service and write better copy. But you need to gather this data first so that you can input this into ChatGPT and get better output. So here are a few steps you can take to begin to understand your audience at a deeper level. We're not going to just look at the superficial things, the easy things that everybody defaults to. We want to go beyond that, and that way our copy is going to stand out. So let's break it down. If you have an audience that has a problem, there are going to be some signs. So what are those signs? So I want you to consider, if a friend had the problem that you're trying to solve, what would you hear them say and what would you see them do? So as I walk you through this process, you'll probably think of some words you want to jot down, and this is going to be really valuable information to give to ChatGPT. Okay, first we're going to start with the external struggles. Now, think of somebody that you know that has the problem your audience has. Why? Because you'll be able to visualize the external signs and the internal signs if you know that person really well. And then you can translate this to your audience. Okay, we're going to start with external. There's 3 parts to the external. There's the body language, there's the speech, and then there's the behaviors. So let's start with body language. If your audience had this problem, what would you see as far as body language? Perhaps it's hunched shoulders, or maybe it's crossed arms, or maybe they're chewing their nails. That's where I want you to go when you're thinking about your audience with this problem. What would their body language tell you? The second is speech. What would you hear them say? Would they be complaining? Would they be comparing themselves with someone else? Or maybe would they be expressing doubt? What would you hear them say? The third component is behavior. What kind of behavior would you notice if your audience had this problem? For example, lack of sleep. Maybe they've lost their appetite, or maybe they're watching too much TV and they're getting a little bit lazy. Now, these are all signs. They're external signs of something that's happening internally. Now, I want you to consider the internal signs as internal tension. Now, hear me very carefully. When you begin to look at the internal tension, the words that come to mind are gold. And this is what you want to give ChatGPT to produce better copy. So how do we find the words that are going to express the internal tension, especially if it's an intangible? This is where you're going to link the external signs to internal emotions. I'll say it again. This is where you're going to link the external signs to internal emotions. For example, some of the external signs that you saw, what does that tell you about their emotions? For example, are they feeling frustrated? Are they experiencing fear or worried about failure or rejection? Are they discouraged or losing hope after repeated setbacks? Do they have a low self-esteem? Is that what's causing the external behaviors or the external signs? Do they feel guilt? Maybe they are feeling they're letting others down by not doing enough. Are they feeling resentful? Are they harboring bitterness over unmet expectations because of comparison? Are they feeling overwhelmed? Are they struggling to manage multiple responsibilities? Are they full of anxiety? Again, stress is a big one, right? Feeling unsure about the future, the decisions they need to make. Are they feeling loneliness? Is that the cause for the external signs? Maybe they think they're the only ones struggling this way. The other is imposter syndrome, which is another one that's pretty popular, right? Doubting their skills or worthiness. despite some achievements that they've had. Once we begin to look at the external signs and break it down to what do we hear them say, what do we see them do, what are the behaviors, and then we link that to an internal emotion, now all of that data, all of that you've done, that research, you can input that into ChatGPT using the framework I mentioned earlier, and you're going to get better output. Now, everything so far is to understand your audience. We haven't even begun to touch on the transformation that you bring, but this part is easier. The hard work is really understanding your audience. I know you've heard that a million times. Do you understand your audience? But I'm giving you a step-by-step in how to figure out what's really going on with your audience. Go deeper, because your copy is going to suffer if you don't go through this exercise. There's a quote that I absolutely love. It says, "Opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work." And that's attributed to Thomas Edison. This is a little bit of work, but think of all of the messaging and the copy you're going to produce once you have a clear understanding of your audience. You can use it in email sequences. You can use it on sales pages. You can use it in social posts. You can use it in articles. You can use it in podcasts. You can use it everywhere. This is so fundamental. So if you extract all of this and you make a list of the words, then you can input this into ChatGPT. Now, for transformation, how do we do that? This part is easier. It's not going to be as hard. It's not going to take as long. Identify the antonyms for each word that you wrote down. So an antonym is the opposite. So if you said something like frustrated, maybe the antonym would be confidence. And you can use a thesaurus to figure this out, right? Or use ChatGPT to figure it out. You can take the word that you extracted for the external struggles, right? What we heard them say, what we saw them do, and the behaviors, all of that, and just look for the antonym. What's the opposite of that? And grab all of those words for your transformation, the transformation your product or service provides. And you give that to ChatGPT. So remember, in the beginning, when I gave you that outline for creating a prompt for ChatGPT, and I had point number 4, which is context. That's what this is. It's the context. It's not only your unique perspective, but it's the resources. It's the information about the audience, going deeper than just saying target audience. Now, your target audience may be homeschool moms, but after you do this exercise, you're giving it context and you're going deeper and explaining what the struggle is. That's how you create a super great prompt and produce better output. So let me recap with one statement. Empathy amplifies the power of your writing, bridging the gap between AI limitations and your audience's needs. So I hope this was helpful, but I also got some good news for you. I've opened the doors to my private membership where I provide not only custom GPTs, but also coaching, just like I did in this podcast. So if you're listening to this podcast and you like to get a deeper understanding of lead generation, plus custom GPTs to be able to execute quickly, you might want to check it out and check it out quickly. Depending on when you're listening to this podcast, you may still be able to access the founding member price before it goes up. But at any investment, it's going to be so worth it because I've loaded it with lots of great stuff. Not only the live coaching, not only the custom GPTs, not only a special GPT for productivity so you can map out your goals for an entire year, but also done for you professional designs to help you with your lead generation so you can grow your email list. You'll be able to write better email sequences. You'll be able to write better sales pages, all in one place. Amplify your list building with AI. So I hope you check it out. And I hope you like this podcast. If you did, please leave a 5-star review and rating. And if you're watching on YouTube, I would love for you to hit subscribe. So I'll talk to you soon. Take care.